Marvel's Secret Wars is one of the most important comic events ever published, and it all started because one being decided to treat Earth's mightiest heroes like collectible toys. This 12-issue series didn't just change the game, it invented the game. Every major crossover event you've ever read exists because of what happened here. So let's break down the entire story, starting with the moment everything went wrong. The Beyonder and the kidnapping. Imagine something so powerful that Galactus, the literal devourer of worlds, looks nervous. That's the Beyonder. He's not a god. He's not a cosmic entity. He's something from outside the Marvel universe entirely. A force that doesn't even belong in the same category as anything heroes or villains have ever faced. And one day, without warning, he just collects them. Dozens of Marvel's biggest heroes and villains ripped across space and dropped onto Battleworld, an artificial patchwork planet he built from scratch like a kid gluing together a model kit. His reason? Curiosity. He wants to watch them fight. He promises the winners their deepest desire, which sounds generous until you realize he's basically running a cosmic gladiator arena for his own entertainment. This was 1984, and writer Jim Shooter had just created the first storyline to unite the entire Marvel roster across 12 consecutive issues. Nothing like it had ever existed before. But the scariest part isn't the kidnapping. It's how everyone reacts to the Beyonder. Even Galactus, a being who has humbled gods, visibly recoils. That tells you everything. Nobody on Battleworld is equipped to handle what's coming, and the cracks in their alliance are already showing because one of their most powerful allies is about to walk away from the team entirely. Magneto's betrayal. The heroes haven't even finished setting up camp before they lose one of their strongest players. Magneto takes one look at the Hero Coalition, a team led by Captain America, filled with human leaders making human decisions, and walks away. No dramatic speech, no ultimatum, he just leaves. And here's the thing, this isn't Magneto joining the villains. That would actually be easier to deal with. Instead, he becomes a free agent on a planet where an omnipotent being is forcing everyone to pick a side. Nobody can predict his moves because he's not answering to anyone. The heroes can't plan around him. The villains can't recruit him. He's just out there, one of the most powerful mutants alive, doing whatever he wants. The timing couldn't be worse. The first major battle between heroes and villains erupts almost immediately after his departure, and the heroes feel that absence. Magneto's raw power could have tipped the scales. Instead, they're fighting without him while he watches from the sidelines, proving a point nobody asked him to make. But this moment is bigger than Battleworld. This becomes the template for how Magneto is written for years afterward, always orbiting hero teams, never fully committing, fundamentally incapable of sustained loyalty to any institution he doesn't control. He's the first person to reject the Beyonder's game entirely. He won't be the last, because while Magneto quietly slips away from the heroes, Dr. Doom is already planning something far more ambitious than just refusing to play. Doom's real game. While every hero and villain on Battleworld is busy picking sides, forming alliances, and trying to survive the next 5 minutes, Dr. Doom is playing an entirely different game. He's not interested in winning the Beyonder's contest. He's interested in the Beyonder's power, and that distinction changes everything. See, every other character on Battleworld is operating inside the Beyonder's framework. Heroes fight villains, villains fight heroes, somebody wins, somebody gets a cosmic prize. That's the game, and Doom looks at it and immediately decides the game is a distraction. The real prize isn't whatever reward gets handed out at the end. The real prize is the god running the whole thing. So while everyone else is swinging fists and shooting lasers, Doom starts quietly observing both factions, every power level, every weakness. He's running a parallel operation that nobody else has the vision or the sheer arrogance to even consider. He's not trying to win the tournament. He's trying to rob the casino. This is the moment Secret Wars stops being a superhero brawl and becomes something way more interesting. It becomes a heist story, one man's calculated, methodical march towards stealing omnipotence from a being that could erase him from existence with a thought. Every other player on Battleworld is a pawn. Doom alone is trying to flip the board, but even Doom's ambition looks small compared to what shows up next, because Galactus just arrived on Battleworld. Galactus arrives. So everyone on Battleworld is already dealing with the most stressful situation imaginable. Heroes on one side, villains on the other, an omnipotent being watching from above like it's reality TV. Bad enough, right? Then Galactus shows up, transported in by the Beyonder, just like everyone else. Heroes, villains, and now a cosmic entity that devours entire worlds for sustenance, all dropped onto the same chessboard. And that detail alone should terrify you, because it means the Beyonder looked at this war and decided it needed a wild card that could eat the planet. That's not balancing the scales. That's flipping the table. Here's the thing about Galactus. He doesn't care about your war. He doesn't care about your alliance. He doesn't care about your survival. He operates on a scale where the difference between hero and villain is literally meaningless. You're not enemies to him. You're not even obstacles. You're furniture, and both sides know it instantly. The heroes stop strategizing against the villains. The villains stop scheming against the heroes. For one brief, genuinely surreal moment, everyone on Battleworld shares the exact same thought. We might all die, and it won't even be because of the fight we came here for. That's the genius of his arrival. He doesn't pick a side. He doesn't make demands. He just exists, and his existence alone rewrites every calculation on the board. Nobody planned for a third variable that could eat the entire planet before breakfast. But Galactus doesn't just sit there looking menacing. He actually tries to do something about the Beyonder, and what happens next changes everything, especially for one very observant villain watching from the shadows. Galactus versus the Beyonder. Let me put this in perspective. Galactus devours entire planets. He's humiliated cosmic gods, reshaped universal history, and exists on a level of power that makes most beings in the Marvel Universe look like ants. He is, by almost any measure, one of the most terrifying forces in all of fiction, and the Beyonder swats him down like he's nothing. That's not an exaggeration. Galactus directly confronts the Beyonder on Battleworld, attempting to assert his authority over cosmic affairs, and the Beyonder dismisses him with what looks like minimal effort. Not a battle, not a struggle, a dismissal. The entity that eats worlds gets treated like a minor inconvenience. This is the single most effective power scaling moment in the entire series. Because if Galactus is an insect to the Beyonder, what does that make everyone else? What does that make the heroes? The villains? Every single person standing on Battleworld suddenly realizes they are cosmically irrelevant. But here's the thing. One person on that planet isn't panicking. He's taking notes. Dr. Doom watches this entire confrontation very carefully, and he walks away with a completely recalibrated plan. Stealing Galactus's power alone won't cut it. Galactus's power clearly doesn't reach the Beyonder's level, so Doom has to go further. He needs to steal Galactus's power first, then use it as a stepping stone to reach the Beyonder's own cosmic authority. The confrontation lasts moments, but it tells Doom exactly how high the ceiling is, and exactly what he needs to do to reach it. The path to godhood just opened up in front of him, and he's already walking it. But if Doom's scheming wasn't enough to worry about, the heroes are about to face a much more immediate problem, one that hits their base directly and costs them one of their strongest fighters. Under siege. Up to this point, the villains on Battleworld had been dangerous but disorganized. Scattered attacks, power plays, infighting. That changes here. The villain faction launches a full, coordinated assault on the hero's stronghold, and it's the most organized offensive of the entire series. Every alliance the heroes have built gets tested simultaneously. Multiple fronts, multiple threats, zero breathing room. But the battle isn't the real story of this issue. In the middle of active combat, Benjamin Grimm spontaneously reverts from his rocky orange form back to a completely human appearance. No warning, no build-up, no explanation from the Beyonder, no cosmic device, no magical interference. One moment, he's the Thing, the team's heaviest hitter, throwing punches that can crack mountains. The next moment, he's just Ben Grimm, regular human Ben Grimm, standing in the middle of a war zone with zero powers, and nobody knows why. The tactical problem is obvious. You just lost one of your strongest fighters during the worst possible moment. The team has to adapt mid-battle while simultaneously trying to not get killed. But the psychological problem is way more interesting. Ben Grimm has spent years trapped in a body he hated. He's wanted to be human again more than almost anything, and now he gets exactly what he wished for at exactly the moment it could get him and everyone around him killed. Is the Beyonder manipulating individual transformations to keep things interesting? Does Battleworld itself itself warp reality independently? The narrative never says, and that deliberate silence is more unsettling than any answer would be. But if Thing's transformation caught the heroes off guard, the next issue delivers something far worse, because someone is about to die. The calm before everything. Issue 7 is doing something sneaky. On the surface, it looks like a transitional chapter, a breather between major conflicts. But what it's actually doing is quietly loading a gun that's about to go off in the most unexpected way possible. First, a new Spider-Woman shows up on Battleworld, and before you start connecting her to any Spider-Woman you already know, don't. This isn't Jessica Drew. This isn't Julia Carpenter from your Saturday morning cartoons. Well, actually, it is Julia Carpenter, but not the version you're picturing. She's a regular woman from a Denver suburb, one of the chunks of Earth the Beyonder ripped away to build Battleworld. She gets swept into the conflict with zero superhero experience, gains her powers during the event itself, and fights alongside the heroes as this completely unexpected addition to the roster. But while a new face is joining the fight, an old one is being removed. Janet Van Dyne, the Wasp, is apparently killed in combat during this issue, and that hits different. This isn't some throwaway side character. This is a founding Avenger. Her death signals something important. Battleworld doesn't care about your protected status. Nobody is safe here. The normal rules of comic book immortality suspended. Now here's the detail that matters most, and nobody realizes it yet. During all of this chaos, the pieces are falling into place for Spider-Man to stumble across something extraordinary in the very next issue. A strange alien device that he doesn't understand. A discovery that the story won't make a big deal out of at first. Almost background noise while bigger things are happening around him. That machine is about to change everything, not just for this story, for the entire Marvel Universe, permanently. And what happens when Spider-Man finally activates it? That's where Secret Wars stops being a cool crossover and becomes legendary. Spider-Man's accident. Here's the thing about the most important moment in Secret Wars. It doesn't feel important when it happens. Spider-Man's suit gets damaged during the fighting on Battleworld. That's it. That's the inciting incident. His costume is torn up, he needs a new one, and someone points him toward an alien device that can supposedly fabricate materials. So Spider-Man walks up to this machine and pushes a button. He pushes a button. No dramatic buildup, no ominous warning, no cosmic voice telling him to stop. He just activates a device he doesn't understand because he needs new clothes. And instead of spitting out fabric, the machine releases a black, liquid-like organism that immediately crawls onto his body and wraps itself around him like a second skin. But here's the kicker. It works perfectly. The new suit responds to his thoughts. It generates its own webbing. It can shapeshift into civilian clothes. From Spider-Man's perspective, he just stumbled into the greatest equipment upgrade in Marvel history. There is zero reason for him to be suspicious. The symbiote doesn't hurt him. It doesn't act hostile. It just performs like a flawless, living suit of armor that anticipates his every need. Nobody on Battleworld explains where this thing came from. The original series gives it no origin, no creator, no backstory. It's just there, waiting in a machine, on a patchwork planet built by a god, and nobody asks questions. That single accidental button press spawns the entire Venom franchise. Every symbiote storyline, every host, every Carnage rampage, every Lethal Protector arc, all of it traces back to Spider-Man needing a wardrobe change on an alien planet. Secret Wars stops being important to its own plot in this moment and starts being important to everything that comes after it. But if one accidental discovery reshaped Marvel forever, imagine what happens when Doctor Doom starts making moves on purpose. Doom's heist. This is the issue where Doctor Doom stops watching and starts building. After spending the entire conflict studying every power dynamic on Battleworld, cataloging every weakness, and running calculations that would make Reed Richards nervous, Doom finally moves. And his first step isn't some grand alliance or battlefield maneuver. It's infiltrating Galactus's world ship, the entity that devours entire planets for breakfast. Doom walks right into his ship like he's browsing a hardware store. But here's the thing. Doom doesn't find the ship empty. He discovers Claw already aboard, a villain made of living sound who ended up there after the whole Dazzler energy incident left him scattered and reformed inside Galactus's vessel, and Claw is barely holding it together. The guy is erratic, erratic, unstable, talking in circles. Not exactly the ideal companion for a cosmic power play, but Doom doesn't need Claw stable. He doesn't need his loyalty or his ambition. He needs him useful. And a being made of pure, living, sound energy, already physically entangled with Galactus's own power systems, that's not a liability. That's a conduit. Doom recognizes immediately that the energy chain connecting Claw, Dazzler, and Galactus is exploitable. Not through some carefully engineered machine, but through Doom's own understanding of power transference on a cosmic scale. The entire operation runs in complete secrecy. Doom maintains his position within the villain faction, plays his role in the larger conflict, and simultaneously engineers a way to siphon godhood from a cosmic entity. Two separate agendas, zero compromise between them. And Claw, he's a tool. Doom barely respects him, absolutely doesn't trust him, but the energy connection Claw shares with Galactus makes him an essential piece of the puzzle. It's the most Doom relationship imaginable, purely opportunistic, entirely disposable, and accidentally critical. This was never about winning the Beyonders game. This was never about conquering Battleworld. Doom's real play is stealing godhood itself, one stage at a time, starting with the most powerful being physically standing on the planet, and the pieces are in place, which means Galactus has no idea what's coming next. Doom ascends. Everything Doom has been building towards since issue 3 arrives in a single terrifying moment. He activates the machine, and Galactus's cosmic power begins pouring directly into his body, and it works. That's the part that should genuinely unsettle you. This wasn't a desperate gamble. This wasn't a madman screaming at the sky. Dr. Doom, a mortal human being, correctly identified that the power of a universe-devouring god could be quantified, siphoned, and transferred through technology, and he was right. The plan was never delusional. It was engineered. The transfer visibly weakens Galactus. The same entity that terrified every single hero and villain on Battleworld just a few issues ago is now diminished, drained, reduced. Which should be a relief, right? The biggest immediate threat on Battleworld is neutralized. But here's the thing. That power didn't disappear. It now lives inside a man with an ego the size of a planet and an agenda that makes world domination look modest. And Doom doesn't hesitate. He doesn't consolidate. He doesn't build defenses or negotiate terms. Armed with a fraction of godhood, he immediately launches a direct assault on the Beyonder himself, the being who swatted Galactus like a fly, the entity that kidnapped the most powerful beings in the Marvel Universe without breaking a sweat. Doom looks at that and says, "You're next." But here's where it gets unsettling. The Beyonder appears to let this happen. He doesn't intervene during the transfer. He doesn't stop the machine. He doesn't crush Doom before the power takes hold, which raises a question nobody on Battleworld is asking. Is Doom winning, or is he being played? This is the point of maximum threat. A mortal man, through pure intellect and will, has genuinely seized a claim on absolute power. And for one breathless moment, it looks like nothing in the universe can stop him. But having the power of a god and being a god are two very different things. And Doom is about to learn that the hard way. Omnipotent Doom. This is the most philosophically interesting moment in the entire series. Dr. Doom has done it. He seized the Beyonder's power, absorbed everything Galactus had to offer, and now stands as a genuine, omnipotent being over Battleworld and everyone on it. He can reshape matter. He can rewrite the laws of physics. He can unmake and remake reality itself with a thought. For all practical purposes, Victor Von Doom is God, and he immediately starts acting like one. Doom begins redesigning Battleworld from the ground up, reshaping the planet, restructuring existence, building a perfect reality according to his singular vision. Every molecule answers to him. Every law of nature bends to his will. There is nothing on this patchwork planet that can resist him, challenge him, or even slow him down. But here's where it gets devastating. His own mind won't cooperate. Every time Doom tries to build his perfect totalitarian paradise, his human subconscious quietly refuses to go all the way. He unconsciously preserves free will. He leaves individual identity intact. He inserts contradictions and weaknesses into his own designs that he isn't even aware he's creating. The omnipotent god of Battleworld keeps accidentally building escape hatches into his own prison, and he can't stop it because he doesn't know he's doing it. The heroes recognize this fracture almost immediately. Doom's greatest enemy isn't them. It never was. His greatest enemy is his own humanity, still scarred, still conflicted, still incapable of fully suppressing the part of Victor Von Doom that doesn't actually want to be a tyrant. Absolute power didn't erase the man underneath. It just gave him a bigger canvas to fail on. This is the series' real argument. The question was never whether the heroes could overpower an omnipotent Doom. The question was whether Doom could overpower himself. Whether any human being, given literally infinite power, could fully abandon what makes them human. And the answer is quietly devastating. He can't. Nobody can. But recognizing that Doom is sabotaging himself is one thing. Actually exploiting it to save reality is something else entirely. The hero's victory. The heroes don't try to outpunch a god, that would be suicide. Instead, they get an unlikely ally working from the inside. See, the Beyonder isn't gone. He's hiding inside Claw's fractured mind, waiting. And while Doom is busy playing God, the Beyonder uses Claw as a vessel to whisper doubt into Doom's ear. Every insecurity Victor Von Doom has ever buried, every crack in his ego gets pried open from the inside. They're not fighting Dr. Doom, the omnipotent being. They're fighting Victor Von Doom, the man, the one who can't stop leaking through his own godhood like water through a cracked dam. And it works. Doom's grip on the Beyonder's stolen power starts buckling under the weight of its own creator's humanity. But here's where it gets interesting. The Beyonder reclaims his power, just takes it back. Doom loses everything in an instant, reduced from a god back to a man in armor, which raises a question nobody in the story bothers to ask. Did the Beyonder ever actually lose control? Or did he let the entire experiment play out exactly the way he wanted? Watched a mortal try on godhood, fail, and then simply took his toys back? The answer is deliberately ambiguous. And that ambiguity is the point. The heroes use the technology on Battleworld to send themselves home. This isn't a dream. It isn't an alternate timeline that gets erased. Every alliance, every betrayal, every scar from Battleworld follows these characters into mainstream continuity permanently. But the most permanent change? Nobody notices it happening. Spider-Man keeps the black costume. He doesn't tell the Avengers. He doesn't tell the Fantastic Four. He doesn't run tests. He doesn't ask Reed Richards what this alien organism bonded to his body actually is. He just quietly brings it home and keeps wearing it. Peter Parker, the guy everybody trusts, the most transparent hero in the Marvel Universe, makes a selfish, secret decision and tells absolutely no one. That one choice creates venom. It creates carnage. It spawns an entire mythology of symbiotes that will define Marvel stories for decades. The whole series is about power and what it does to people. Doom stole the power of a god and couldn't handle it. But the scariest moment in Secret Wars isn't a man becoming omnipotent. It's the most trustworthy hero in the room quietly pocketing something dangerous and walking away without saying a word. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, click the video on the screen now.